Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to participate in this important initiative. The meeting is being recorded, so be aware of that in your comments. The meeting will be available to the public in the future. At the moment, as we're going through, please mute your microphones until you need to speak or until you're called on by one of the moderators so that we can reduce feedback and background noise and all of those things. My name is Jeff Dygert. I'm the city manager. I think we know most of each other on this phone call. There's a few folks that I haven't had much interaction with, but I think we know each other. We will go through in a little while and go through introductions for those of you that might not know each other and go from there. Along with me today going through this as a co-facilitator is Aileen McNabb Coleman. Aileen, do you want to introduce yourself after I just introduced you?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in this initiative. A lot of hard work is going into this. I want to thank both Sheriff Butler, Sheriff Skank and Chief Butler for all of their work and all of their staff that has helped out tremendously. And I just, maintaining public safety is the essential role of government, and I'm really happy to be part of this with the city. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try to click through a few of these things here. I apologize for the PowerPoint presentation, but it seems like the best way to keep us on task and to make sure we're doing this appropriately. And is along the way, we want to make sure that technology is working with us as well. So bear with us all and with each other as we try to get through any of those glitches. So for a little bit of background, on June 12th of this year, Governor Cuomo signed Executive Order 203, which requires each local government in New York State to adopt a policy, a policing reform policy by April 1st of 2021. And that's referred to as Executive Order 203, or as we refer to it, EO 203. It requires a community involvement, and a lot of that stuff has happened already. We'll speak more to that as we go along. And the idea is to collaboratively establish policies that allow the police to safely and effectively perform their duties, and during the development process, allow for public comment. Local legislative body must adopt a plan by April 1st of 2021. So again, as we look at this as two different municipal bodies, being the city and the county, and we also have 3 villages potentially involved, those that have police forces, Moravia, Port Byron, and Weedsport. All of those individual legislative bodies are required by this executive order to adopt their plan by April 1st, 2021. So that process in and of itself takes time, and we needed to work backwards from that time frame to a point several weeks ago or a couple of months ago to establish this process and put it in place. So you'll notice that some of the dates, as we discuss those at the end of this meeting, are going to be pretty close together to have these meetings and put this policy together. Once adopted in April, the plan must be forwarded to New York State. Again, we've had significant discussions prior to this meeting amongst the legislative chairperson, myself, some city councilors, the police chief and some of his staff, and the sheriff and some of his staff, and determined that because of there being so many similarities in the services provided and the population served, that it just makes sense to attack this as a joint venture collaboratively and save everyone, including the community members involved in this process, the trouble of duplicating all that. And we can benefit from discussions related to either agency. At this point, it looks like we've got about 30 people on this call right now, Chief Butler. And I was just going to go right down through the list that I have. I've introduced myself. I'll introduce our elected officials that are on the line. We have Elaine Daly from the Cayuga County Legislature. I can't see whether she's on or not right at the moment. I think she was. Councilor Deborah McCormick from the Auburn City Council. I saw her sign in.
Jeff, I am here. It's Elaine. I am on.
Oh, hello. How are you?
Hi. Good. Thank you.
Councilor Deborah McCormick was on. I did see her a moment ago. I can't see everybody's pictures right now.
I'm here. Thank you.
Hello. Councilor Jimmy Genatino
I'm here.
is here. All right. Police Chief Sean Butler is here. Sheriff Brian Skagg.
I'm here. Welcome and thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Sheriff. And from there on, I'm going to just run down the list of folks that I've got. It's in alphabetical order, so nobody please get offended if you're not at the top of the list or if you happen to be at the bottom. It's a matter of your name and the alphabet. Deputy Chief Roger Anthony from the Auburn Police Department.
I'm here.
All right, thank you. Kathy Aguilar from the Cayuga County Migrant Farm Workers Advocacy. Or Ricardo Aguilar.
They had indicated they might be late into the meeting. I told them that was fine, so we may see them come a little bit later.
Okay. James Basile, Mayor of the Village of Fairhaven. Bill Berry from the Harriet Tubman Center for Justice and Peace.
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Hey, welcome. And I know there's a lot more description we could use. We've been collecting the biographies of everybody. We'll share that with the group later on, but we didn't want to spend a lot of time going over the extensive biographies that many of you have. Fred Cornelius, detective from Detective Lieutenant, Cayuga County Sheriff's Department.
Yes, sir.
Welcome. We have also Guy Cosentino will be joining us in a bit. He's going to be a few minutes late, probably about another 5 minutes. The Executive Director of the College Foundation at Cayuga Community College. We've got Kathleen Cuddy, the Director of the Health Department for Cayuga County. Something tells me Kathleen might be otherwise busy right at the moment. Josh Chiz, the chaplain for the Auburn Police Department and the Cayuga County Sheriff's Department.
I'm here. Hello, everybody.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Let's see. Nate Garland, City of Auburn, Assistant Corporation Counsel.
Good afternoon, everyone.
It's like stereo. I can hear him across the hall and here. What a treat. Sergeant Greg Gilfus, Auburn Police Department. I think I saw him sitting behind the police chief a little bit ago.
He was here. He thought he figured it out on his phone.
Oh, okay.
I just finally figured it out. Hello, everyone. I'm here.
There you go.
And just so everybody knows, Sergeant Gilfus is also the officer in charge for the Wheatsport Village Police Department. So he'll be doing dual roles.
Okay. Brian Hartwell, the District Superintendent for Cayuga Onondaga BOCES.
I'm here. Nice to see everybody.
Thank you. Lloyd Hoskins, Executive Director of the Cayuga County Youth Bureau and Assigned Counsel.
Thanks, Jeff. Glad to be with you.
Thanks for taking the time with us. Stephanie Hutchinson, Director of the Auburn Housing Authority.
Here.
Hi, Stephanie. Welcome. Thank you. Megan Callett, Port Byron Village Police Department. I know Megan was with us. She was working through a little technical issue before, so.
I still see her logged in, so she's just
Okay.
on mute right now.
All right. Steve Lynch, Director of Planning and Economic Development for the Cuyahoga County.
Thanks, Jeff. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Steve. You're always involved. Chris Major, Police Officer, Auburn Police Department, and the Vice President of the Auburn Police Officers Union.
I'm here.
I know you were on there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Under the heading Chief Sean Butler as well when you pop up on here. Okay. Brian Myers, Sergeant, Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. Rhoda Overstreet Wilson, the President of Booker T. Washington Center, a member of the Harriet Tubman Center for Justice and Peace. Rhoda, are you on the line by any chance?
I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Yep. Good afternoon. Thank you. And I understand you need to be taking care of other business at around 4 o'clock. So we're going to try to wrap this up pretty quick. Heather Petrus, Executive Director of Cuyahoga Counseling.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Heather. Lori Piccolo, Executive Director of the Cuyahoga Seneca County Action Agency.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Lori. How are you?
Good, thanks.
We were having a little trouble with your email address earlier, but I think that's all straightened out.
Oh, okay.
It must be because you're here. So, Captain Kyle Platt, the Detective Bureau for the Auburn Police Department.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let's see. Bud Shattuck, Mayor of Union Springs.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Mayor. Thanks for joining us. William Sherman, Mayor of the Village of Cuyahoga.
Well, good afternoon.
Thank you. Lieutenant Jim Slayton from the Auburn Police Department.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Under Sheriff Steve Smith, Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department.
He might not make it, Jeff. I don't think he's going to be on.
Okay, that's fine. John Sosi. He's the parent of a local overdose victim and the parent of a domestic violence victim, currently serving as an advocate for victims in our community. Is John on today? Okay. Nicole Stewart, Detective, Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department.
Nicole's actually at a training today, but she'll be involved later.
Okay. And I have Josh Tagliavento of the Moravia Police Department. And Mike Wellauer from the Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Mike Wellauer from the Sheriff's Department.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, Mike. Okay, that's who I have on my list. Is there by any chance anybody that's on the line that I didn't call on that somehow didn't get on the list here? Okay, that's a good thing, I guess. Aileen, do you want to grab a few of these, or how do you want to do that?
Sure. I guess I was, I can certainly, if you wanted to jump in and let me know, but for sure. So, Executive Order 203, the key considerations look at what functions should the police perform. And we need to look at employing smart and effective policing standards and strategies moving forward. So that's part of the study that we're enacting here and on forward through our discussions. Other key considerations, fostering community-oriented leadership, culture, and accountability, and recruiting and supporting excellent personnel.
So we also wanted to make sure that we highlighted some of the things that have been done previously by both the Auburn Police Department and the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office. So Sheriff and Chief, if you wouldn't mind stepping in at this point and talk about some of your previous efforts prior to Executive Order 203.
Sure. I'll start, and Brian, please fill in. First, I want to say thank you to everybody that has joined and volunteered to participate. This is an excellent opportunity for our city and county to be involved in, and we are looking forward to the process, the learning process, and having great involvement from community members like yourself. So first of all, thank you very much. As many of you know, the sheriff and I really share similar visions for our agencies in regards to community cooperation and involvement. And I think hopefully you have seen some of that put to action in the last several years. And a lot of it focused around our minority community and trying to make sure that we are engaged with them and making sure that through transparency that their concerns and involvement are being heard and recognized by the police department. So a lot of that has focused around our partner, Bill Berry, with the Harriet Tubman Center for Justice and Peace, as well as Rhoda Overstreet in regards to NAACP and other community social justice task force involvement. So I'll go back to Bill. We really started with Bill surrounding our involvement with the civil service process and how to get more engagement with youth in our community, and particularly those that may not historically take our exams. So to focus on diversity, that was one of our paramount goals, is how to diversify our list, how to diversify our rank and file to reflect more the community makeup. So Bill really engaged us and really started a process that we have deemed or coined Connecting Bridges. And it kind of went from not only the civil service process, but into really understanding cultures and differences in our community to get us to be a more diversified and accepting community, more than it already is. I think we're very fortunate in this community that we don't experience a lot of the issues that are occurring nationwide. That's something, I know the manager is going to focus on with this project, but it really has grown from there through our involvement with these social justice task force and organizations that advocate. So we've done numerous things. We've had community forums where individuals can come and speak. We've had get to know you events with leadership from these organizations. It has really flourished, and it really, I think, has really helped all involved grow as individuals. And I think this is a natural progression in that. We're going to get to involve more people, educate them about the why and how we do certain things, and what our policies and procedures are in regards to some of the, I guess, hot button topics. And Brian, if you want, I think I've rambled enough. If you want to go maybe into some more detail about some partnerships that we've had, that'd be great.
Sure, and I'd like to just quickly thank everybody for jumping on today and participating. I know that time is very valuable and it's hard to make time for these kind of things, but your willingness to help us, do an assessment of our law enforcement agencies and develop a plan to improve upon them is certainly really appreciated by me. And as the chief said, we've partnered on a number of initiatives, and I've appreciated his partnership, but that's why it seems so fitting for us to come together and partner on this exercise as well. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. But to build upon what the chief said, yes, we've been working with a number of community organizations and trying to be as receptive as we can to people in our community to allow people to tell us what they want to see in our law enforcement agency. And with this exercise, we'll certainly take it to the next step. But with the governor's executive order, there's a few mandates there that we'll discuss, but one of those has to deal with policies and procedures that guide the work that we do. And I can speak for both of our agencies. We're both currently doing a total overhaul of our policies and procedures and implementing new ones with the assistance of an organization called Lexipol. And the city of Auburn's a little bit ahead of us, but we're very excited to implement our new policies and procedures. And I know that both of our agencies are hoping to seek accreditation from the state of New York once we put those in place. So a lot of the directives that are mandated in this order, they're things that we're already working towards, and we were prior to this executive order coming out. So I think that we have a big jump on things, but the next piece is reaching out to the community and all of you and trying to determine what you want to see in a law enforcement agency. And we're very excited to have you here. And throughout this process, I will just mention too, for anybody that, maybe is a stakeholder outside the city of Auburn, especially, feel free to reach out to me if you need more information relative to what we're working on or anything that we're doing or any questions relative to the order of this process. And I'd be more than happy to help. And I'm sure that Chairwoman Aileen McNabb-Colin will be happy to do that too. So thank you again for being here.
Thanks, Sheriff. Thanks, Chief. We want to make sure we recognize, the ongoing efforts locally, especially over the last few months of the NAACP, the Harriet Tubman Center for Social Justice and Peace, the City of Auburn Human Rights Commission, and our local social justice task force, who've been working collaboratively with the police chief and the sheriff's office to work on some of these projects that will become part of these final policies when we're all said and done. We do want to remind everybody that's involved with this that while we acknowledge that there's a national dialogue going on related to policing, we want to make sure that that our group is focused on what's happening locally, our local challenges, and promoting our local successes and building upon those, and not necessarily get bogged down in what's happening at that national level. The format for the meetings that will follow this one will be similar to what you're seeing here. There'll be Zoom meetings. Each meeting will be facilitated or moderated, kind of like this is happening right here. That is in the interest of time and efficiency. As you can imagine, like I mentioned, we have about 38 people on the roster. They'll be we'll talk about that more in a few moments. They'll be divided up into 3 groups. But even with that number of people trying to get through the number of topics, we'll have to keep the conversations moving. The sessions will all be recorded and notes will be taken. On the city's part, those sessions will be viewable, and the notes to those will be viewable on the City of Auburn website, which is up on the screen right now. And I believe the county was planning to essentially do that same basic thing. The format for the meetings, as we break up into the working groups, each participant will be allotted 2 minutes to speak on a topic. They may be given additional time for follow-up by the moderator. That is not to be rude. It's not to cut people off. It's not to rush things, but honestly, in the interest of time and allowing all the participants an opportunity to contribute, we want to make sure that all of the participants, if they have a point to make, get there relatively quickly so that there's time for meaningful discussion and time for everybody to weigh in on the variety of topics that will be out there. There will be an initial session of each group, and then a follow-up session to that group as well. Again, the topics will be broken up into three groups. And for those three groups, there will be information forwarded to the participants in each one of those groups from the Sheriff's Department and the Auburn Police Department to give you some background information, whether that be policies or what have you, or at least talking points and thoughts on those individual topics.
Okay, the meetings format for our first session. There will be a discussion of recently revised policies, and we're going to generate points for further discussion and development. For the second session, the format will be reviewing the updated policies or responses based on input from the first session. And then after the working group meetings, there's going to be separate facilitated public meetings to inform the public of the process and the outcomes. And then both the Auburn Police Department and the Keuka County Sheriff's Office have both conducted separate online surveys. They just went out this week. I know the counties just put theirs out yesterday, and we've been sharing that through emails and in social media. So whether or not you respond to the police department or the sheriff's department, please do so, and please encourage folks in your community to do the same. That will elicit further input so that folks who can't be a part of this process can be heard.
Manager, can I jump in real quick?
Absolutely. Yep.
In regards to those surveys, please, and like Aileen had stated, please make sure you further that. Make sure we get out there. The Auburn Police Department, as of just before this meeting, we have 166 responses, which is great. What we're planning on doing is we have a lot of those input, basically, where people can type in text about their vision for the police department, experiences they've had. We're going to share all of that. Every week, we're going to post those responses as they come in up on our city website that the manager had mentioned. So everybody would be able to see those responses. So just for fulfillment of transparency, and so everybody can see what their fellow citizens feel about the job we're doing, what we need to do better, and what they expect from us in the future.
Okay, as far as topics go, we're required to cover certain topics, and we'll outline those here in just a few moments. We do realize, though, that there may be some topics that come up that fall outside of the authority of either the Sheriff's Department or the Auburn Police Department. For example, things that are regulated or dictated under New York state law or some sort of federal authority. So we don't want to get, again, mired down in conversations on things that we don't have a direct ability to control at this level. So we're going to want to focus on the things that we can do within these agencies in our own community. We want to just make sure we all are aware that some topics might be considered wicked issues where there are not necessarily any clear solutions, or where solutions tend to create another set of problems to be dealt with later. Related to that, the documents that get created from these collaborative meetings may not conclusively address every single issue. Both agencies have had extensive discussion around some of these types of topics and are committed to continuing to work through those issues into the future. So what may happen potentially on or before April 1st, when these documents are required to be adopted by the local municipalities, there may be several topics where there's still items to be ironed out. And again, those might be things we need another 6 or 12 months to work through some things. They may be things that 3 to 5 years in the future are still an issue that needs to get ironed out. That's just the reality of it. We'll do the best we can. And I know both organizations are committed to continuing the dialogue.
Whoops. Hold on just a sec. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I got locked out there for a second. So just as Jeff has referenced, each agency has similarities as well as differences, and each agency will create its own policy based on the information shared in these collaborative meetings. And as he said, the city and the county will establish each of their own plans. And as we stated, much of that will be similar, but certainly the constituent base can be different, and problems that exist in the rural communities versus the city communities also vary. So we want to make sure that we address each municipality.
This slide's a little tough, but this is a mission statement. I'm not going to read through it. This is a mission statement that the chief and the sheriff collaboratively put together. When you get a chance, I'll give you a moment to take a peek at it. This is really the guiding statement behind this whole process. And we'll make sure all of this information we've got here is also available to all of you on this phone call so that you can review it in the future. We're also collecting the mission and vision and goals of each department that'll be available to all the folks in these working groups as well as a jumping off point. Okay, as we've stated, there's 3 basic topic areas that were discussed in our little executive working group that we had originally. Each of the topic areas will be assigned to a working group, and those 3 topic areas are police structure and training, police community relations and crime prevention, and alternatives to police response and procedural justice.
So the first topic Jeff just referenced, police structure and training. So that's group 1. We're going to talk about use of force policy, body worn cameras, no knock warrant procedures, model policies and accreditation, and chokehold law and policy. In addition, we'll talk about racial bias, de-escalation techniques, duty to intervene, mental health interventions, and talk about officer mental health and wellness.
The second group is related to police community relations and crime prevention. It'll have the goal of discussing outreach programs, the right to know law, school safety and security, including SRO and SPO programs, the hiring process, collaboration with the community and other organizations, problem-oriented policing, hotspots, focused deterrence, and environmental design. It'll discuss also community policing initiatives and violence prevention.
So group 3 will discuss alternatives to police response and procedural justice, We'll talk about response to non-criminal calls, diversionary programs and court alternatives to arrest or incarceration, and community court. We'll also be talking about various community partners, community expectations, implicit bias, and de-escalation techniques. In group 3, we'll also discuss transparency, being the public media communication, a complaint process, and community input, a voice to ensure trust, fairness, and accountability.
And again, I know this is the second time it was mentioned, but again, our focus is going to be on what's happening locally with our agencies within our community and what we can do to improve that. Our working group assignments, we've identified some community members we feel would be good fits for particular groups. If you feel that you're a better fit for another group, please contact us. And what will happen is after this meeting today, we'll reach out to the folks that are on this call and assign those working groups and have some discussions to get everybody ready for the upcoming meetings. Again, I think I mentioned it before. Each group will be provided with documents from the agencies related to their assigned topics, and they'll be assigned a contact person at the agencies if they need to do some follow-up. Each group will be assigned a facilitator or moderator that will kind of do what Aileen and I are doing right now to keep the conversation going, try to keep it on track, as well as somebody to take notes for that session. The sessions, as we mentioned, will all be this format and recordable and viewable to the public.
Working group expectations, all discussions should be respectful. There will be time limits that we're going to be establishing to ensure there's enough time to complete this project.
We will make sure that everybody on this phone call or on this Zoom meeting gets these basic dates so that you've got them and you can block them out. Hopefully they work out for most of you. November 24th, we're looking to convene the first meeting of the working groups. And those meetings, again, with the 3 working groups being split up, those might all be able to happen at the same time. So literally from, say, 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock, that might be the time that all 3 of those groups are meeting, but with the technology, we can handle that. December 8th is when we've scheduled the second meeting of the working groups. Again, that'll be the follow-up and all that from the first meeting. December 15th, we're looking to have the first public forum. That public forum, again, will take the information that's been gathered and the revised policies, discuss it in a more public way. These meetings that are happening here are for planning and updating policy. And then those things will be rolled out to the public for public input and consideration on the 15th, as well as on January 5th. There's been some discussion about the location of those public meetings, and those may happen here in the city, or there may be one in the city and one to the north, one to the south. There may be some additional dates that pop up there. We'll work through that as we move along and we see what kind of participation we're getting. Those public forum meetings are planned to be moderated by Guy Cosentino, who tends to have, he has some experience doing those things. So he's, I believe, on this phone call now. Guy Cosentino, are you on the line? He may just be listening in.
Sorry.
Yes. Hey, there you are. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So Guy will be sitting through some of these meetings to get a feel for what the conversations are to help better prepare him for those public meetings. Based on all that feedback, January 12th is the planned date for the final large group meeting to finalize the document. That likely will be the same group that's getting together today. And on February 1st, we're hoping that all of these local legislative bodies are in a position to start their review, as whether it be a council or the legislature, to actually take a look at the document and get it through the legal process that they require.
So Before we get to questions, I just wanted to kind of review. So this executive order is aimed at seizing a moment of crisis and turning it into an opportunity for transformation. I just want to say that I'm pleased that the city police and the county sheriff have built a great foundation of building connecting bridges over the past year. And I look forward to the discussions in each of the groups in the coming days. So I want to thank each of you for your time, commitment, and for your participation in policing, in improving our local policing agencies, in improving the quality of life in the city of Auburn, Cuyahoga County in general. So thank you very much for joining us. And then we'll open up to some questions now.
Anybody?
And Rhoda, I know you got to head off pretty soon. If you had anything that you wanted to get in there before you have to log off.
My only question was, as the groups are going to be split, as we are going to be split into 3 groups, will the facilitator of those groups reach out to us so we'll know whom we're responding to? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we'll communicate with the groups and let you know who the facilitators are and all of that stuff, and we'll be sending you information. So you will probably receive more emails and information than you'd like to have over the next couple of days. So, yes.
Okay, good.
And if I might, for the stakeholders that I reached out to yesterday, you're likely not assigned to a group. So if you have an area that you're interested in and you want to pop an email to me, I'll see if we can plug you into that location. Or otherwise, if I don't hear from you, maybe we'll try to do that. But we welcome your input if you see an area you want to be at.
Jeff, it's Elaine. I just had a clarification question. Depending on the group that we're assigned to, it's likely going to start with a review of pertinent policies and procedures that currently exist. And then we'll review those and potentially give feedback, approval, whatever. And the document that comes out of this work group that you're referring to is the document that shows the review happened, any input we have. What are you referring to with the document we produce?
Well, the document is going to end up, it will inform policies in each of the agencies, but really there's going to be a couple things that come out of this. First of all, we have to show for compliance with the executive order that we have done certain things and that we have engaged the community in discussions and that there's been meaningful discussion and consideration of existing policies. And there is right, in a perfect world, there's the potential that there's no input and the policies are what they are. I have a feeling that based on the work that the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department have done over the last several years and even in the last few months, we're a lot closer than a lot of communities probably are at this point in time. So
meeting the accreditation for both organizations is very helpful in terms of getting into what you need to do to have decent policies and procedures in hand. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's actually a great point. And it was in my notes and I didn't get a chance to verbalize that, but the chief and the sheriff can certainly speak to that more. Right now would probably be a great time if they could speak to where they stand in that accreditation process.
So Elaine, we've been going through the accreditation process more than 2 years. It's that big. It's going through and rewriting every one of our policies to meet state recognized standards in policing. So we are about 95% complete with that in regards to rewriting according to state standards. And issuing them to our officers and going through the review and all that process. But we have not started the accreditation process with state review yet. So they'll actually come in the future and review us and grade us and judge us, making sure that we hit all those protocols, all those standards. So the first step is to rewrite according to recognized standards, and that's what we're almost finished with. And that's what this group will review, is those review policies. If I could add as well, is just so everybody knows our role, the police in each of your groups, we're not going to be the facilitators. We really can't be. That's not our role. We're there as subject matter experts as to deliver the information that's needed. Questions come up about procedures and things like that. That's really where we come in. You know, this is more an exercise for you, the public, and stakeholders in the community to really see our, you know, how we do business and why we do certain things. So each group will have those subject matter experts embedded within, but don't look at us as the facilitators running the program. That's not, it shouldn't be our role.
Thank you.
And as far as the sheriff's office goes, the city's quite a bit farther ahead than we are when it comes to seeking accreditation. However, we were accredited a number of years ago, and quite a few years ago, we did not seek reaccreditation for reasons that we're trying to rectify now. But many of our policies fall within accreditation standards already. They just need to be updated. But we hope to breeze through this process and seek accreditation too somewhere down the road here. But I'd also like to just mention that when we're looking at this project, you know, we have a very aggressive timeline, and you know, we might be thinking, hey, we need to solve many of these issues and address all these issues within just a couple of months. I envision that some of our discussions will lead into deeper discussions that may not even begin to solve any of our concerns moving into March or April. So I think our plan and our document may just, you know, set the stage for further discussion or further review or further work down the road. So everybody needs to understand we don't need to solve some of our concerns in a few months here. We just need to have a solid plan as to how we're going to address some of these things moving forward.
Right. And that's really what the document's getting at, the review happening and what are the recommendations from that review.
And the direction we'll be going from there.
Yep.
And
Okay.
Elaine, you mentioned what the final document, you know, is or what it looks like. And it could be it could be an actual local law mandating certain things. It could be a resolution that outlines the whole process in our due diligence and what the future plans are. So those are what the state's looking for. So
okay.
based for the legislative body and for city council, those are things that they'll have to review and pass or vote into law.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one more question before I leave. I want to piggyback what Sean and Jeff have both said about Auburn and Cuba County not experiencing those high crisis things that happen nationally. But communities of color do experience things in our community. So I would be concerned if the things we write don't view that or use the lens of what might happen, because there's going to come a time collectively we won't be here with our mindsets, and there will be people in these positions in the future that may not think like we do. So I would be concerned that we wouldn't think about those what if those things happen. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Yep. Anybody else?
I knew Bill was going to have something to say. Hi, Bill.
Hi, how's everybody this afternoon? One comment with what Rhoda just said, I think if we approach this the same way the health field several years ago approached preventative medicine, we want to do those things that we have in place that will help prevent situations from escalating. Now, the two questions are, in the interest of, Jeff, you mentioned transparency. I know this session is recorded. It will be put on the city's website. Are other organizations that have websites, Facebook pages, are we allowed to take that information and present it on our own platforms as another way of getting this information out to the community?
I'm not sure I follow your question. Do you mean, can you take the information that will be on the city website and rebroadcast it on another way? Is that the question?
Yeah, the question is, once it's on the city's website, for example, the Harriet Tubman Center has a website. Can we extrapolate that and put it on our website as a way of getting the information out, or would you rather that it just stays central to the city?
No, it's free for everybody once it's out there. So
okay. Second quick question. You mentioned February 1 as the date to prepare the document, I would suspect, for the city council and the county legislature.
Right.
What is the date? Is there a tentative date yet that they will act on that to make sure we make the April 1st deadline?
Well, again, that again depends on what approach each legislative body takes to adopt this. Again, a resolution is one thing in the city, a local law is another thing in the city. So a resolution may take a couple of sessions to move through the process, but a local law takes 4 definitive sessions to get through the process. So we were looking at this as in the end, on the outside, looking at it as adopting a local law to adopt this policy or what have you. And that's essentially a 4-meeting process. So we had to work backwards to get to that date.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And Jeff, to follow up on that, I know for the legislative answer to that question, March 23rd is our drop dead on this to make sure that we have it done. We'd love to do it sooner if we could, but that would be the last date to get approval.
And again, I know we've mentioned it several times and the sheriff just mentioned it. We understand it's a tight time frame, and I could say, you know, I really appreciate all the work that the sheriff's department and the police department have done to prepare for this. I think we're in really good shape, and we can make this happen. There's obviously going to be topics that are just tough topics that are going to take us a little bit of time. And if we can show that we have a plan moving forward, that will essentially address the executive order at this point in time. And I know that the sheriff and the police chief are committed to continuing that conversation. Anything else? We had a conversation amongst a small group of us the other day about expectations, about time commitment. I would think that if you're involved with this, each of these individual working group meetings are probably going to be somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours, much beyond 2 hours, and they'll probably not be very productive. So we're looking at probably blocking out an hour and a half to 2 hours for each of those meetings, if that makes sense to folks.
Are you thinking at 3 o'clock again? Is that kind of or who knows?
You know, it seemed to work good today.
Okay.
So if that tends to work, I think that'll be something we aim for. If all of a sudden it looks like we're not getting good attendance or it becomes a problem, obviously we'll have to adjust. But if we look at that 3 o'clock time frame and keep it standardized.
And Elaine, I mean, each one of your subcommittees, if it doesn't work, you know, you guys can all amongst yourselves agree on a time for that day.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, just for my own, I plan on bouncing around to the different subcommittees, just obviously for listening and input as well. So if there is a different time, that's great. If not, I'll catch up on the recordings for one that I missed.
And Jeff, you'll send out those dates that you had on the presentation?
Yes, we can send you a copy of the presentation just so you can see all those little talking points as well.
Great.
And again, with some backup information on that.
Thanks.
And you know, just before we all leave here, I appreciate everybody taking part in this. I know there's a lot of meetings that'll be happening. It's an important topic, but I also know I know a lot of you pretty well, and most of you are really busy people. So we appreciate you squeezing this in.
Jeff and Aileen, would it be okay if the chief and I, if there's any questions following the meeting that maybe people have or an email they need to send, if the chief and I are kind of the point, we can send that off to you or help people with any questions they might have, or do you two want want to do that on your own, I guess it's up to you.
I love the idea of you and the police chief taking care of that. That sounds great.
I thought,
Yeah.
all right, Aileen gave the
Great,
thumbs
I
up, so we got our answer. But yeah, feel free to fire an email or call the chief or I if you need anything as we move forward.
All right, and then maybe tomorrow we can work on getting everybody assigned to groups and choosing some facilitators and things like that for those 3 groups. Okay. Fantastic. Anything else from anybody? It's about as close to an hour as we can get.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.